It's time to play ball. Welcome to the podcast with no limits. Whether it be sports, current events, or random thoughts, this is the place to step in and stay a while. Your host is a proud alumnus of Rio Hondo Prep, a former minor league baseball umpire, and a man with strong opinions. Welcome to the Get Home Safe podcast and your host, Matt Hersema.
Hey guys, and welcome to another episode of Get Home Safe. It is Monday, April 26th. Thank you for tuning in today for another fun episode of the Get Home Safe podcast. Lots to talk about today. It's just me, as is usually the case on Mondays. A ton of topics to get to, a lot of sports topics, some other things as well. Just a fair warning that we're going to bounce around a little bit today. We're going to bounce around to some of my thoughts on just kind of where we're at in society, kind of my thoughts on some current events, if you will, outside of sports, somewhat related, but just a lot of kind of where I feel we are at in society and just some random thoughts, as you guys have heard from me before plenty of times. So lots to talk about, as I said today. Happy Monday to all, and thanks for tuning into this episode. We are going to do a Suds with Studs segment that I will get to as well. One that I think is it hits home, at least for me. We're going to honor an officer actually who was killed in the line of duty back in 1996. And a Glendora PD, member of Glendora PD, I should say, Louis Pompei. So we'll get to that in a second. Louis Pompei. I will get to that. But man, an amazing weekend. UFC really delivered on Saturday night. I don't know how many of you guys got to see all of the fights, but an amazing main card. And you know what was awesome to see was, yes, fans in the stands, a full capacity of fans in the stands, 15,000 plus, a full arena, people, some wearing masks, some not wearing masks, a lot of people not wearing masks. It was almost like the good old days, almost like America, right? It was a beautiful sight to see. I can't wait for the backlash for everyone to start complaining and saying, how people want to die? And there's actually an article that I'll get to that kind of touched on that. And Dana White, the president of UFC, or I'm not sure what his title is. I think he's still the president. He laid into an article from a Las Vegas newspaper that I might get to read here. But UFC 261 absolutely delivered. 5 great fights, 3 of those fights being title fights. There was drama. I mean, every fight ended early in a knockout of some form, some way or another. I want to get to all of that. Let's see. I have a ton of notes here that I want to talk about. Let's see. Most of it has to do with UFC from over the weekend. The college football playoffs. Yes, playoffs, Division I AA. They played their first round of games over the weekend. No real great games, kind of some blowouts, but that's to be expected. But on that note, there was also some talk from the college football playoff and, Division 1A, talk of expanding the playoff from not just 4 teams, but maybe 8, 16, 12, 6. I don't know how you come up with those kind of weird numbers. I think it needs to be 8 or 16, but that's just me. So anyway, we'll get into that towards the end. I've waited a long time, a few days, to say what I want to say about somebody on this podcast, and that is LeBron James. I have some comments about LeBron. You guys know me. I'm very critical of him. I have been in the past. I am not a fan by any means. And some of his comments recently really, really upset me. And not just upset me, but I think upset a lot of people. And I have plenty of things to say about that, and I'm going to kind of save that for the end. I think save that for the end of this show. So anyway, bear with me today. I got a lot of notes. When I'm by myself, as you guys know, I just kind of bottle it all up for the week. All my little catchphrases, my analogies, just random thoughts that I have, and I write this down. and I write them down and try to come up with a topic here. But anyway, great guest on Friday. We're going to be joined by Bill Ritter, my good friend from high school, lives up in Portland area. Had a conversation with Bill about, cryptocurrency. We talked a little bit about third-party candidates in presidential races. We caught up. It was a great time catching up with him. It had been about a year since Bill was last on this program. So really a lot of fun talking with Bill Ritter. Hope you guys will get a chance to hear that or set some time aside on Friday or next weekend to hear my conversation with him and talking a little bit about music and stuff as well. And speaking of music, had a fun conversation last Friday with Douglas Kirk from Bakersfield. Really fun time chatting with him. Got some great feedback on that episode. So hope you guys get a chance to tune in and, no pun intended, to listen to some conversation with Doug about some music and such. Anyway, I saw this article. It's not an article, really. It's like, I don't know. It's pretty short. It was shared to me by a friend, and I want to read it to you guys because I think it's relevant to today's world. Today that we're all kind of going through some things right now, and I found it interesting, and it really struck me. And this is by a guy named Andy Frisella. I think he has a podcast as well. He's kind of a motivational speaker. I could be wrong, so forgive me if I'm incorrect there. But this was really, really good, and I want to read it to you. It's just a couple paragraphs. So this is how I want to start things out today. This is called People Pleasers Will Never Win. This was written on April 16th, 2021. So just about a week and a half ago. Okay, here it is. Not everyone is going to like you. So what? It doesn't matter if we're talking about business, politics, your personal brands, or just life in general. The real you is not going to be for everybody, no matter what you say, what you do, or what you stand for. There will always be people who don't approve. But the quickest way to become irrelevant in business and in life is to try catering to everyone. It's stale, it's average, it's boring. People pleasers will never win. They will never carve out a diehard following, a culture, or a community. Listen to me when I say it is much better to have 50% of people who love you and the 50% of people who hate you than it is to have 100% of people that don't have an opinion about you. If we're talking about building an influential brand, you need to understand this. People want to identify with something. People want to belong to something. If your messaging is watered down because you're trying to appeal to everyone, then what makes you special or polarizing? Nothing. The same thing goes for who you are. Have some passion, have some belief, stand for something, and the right people will love you for it. I had to share that with you guys because I was just incredibly blown away. It's a short, simple, right to the point message that I think speaks volumes. I think for a lot of people out there, I know myself included, I don't want to be anyone's enemy. I don't want to anger people. I don't want to be the guy that stirs things up, that mocks people for what they believe or watches what I say. But we live in this age now where you have to watch every word you say. And that's hard. Some people, they have this gene inside them where they don't care. They speak their mind. They're like, I don't care what people think of me. Big deal. And I think I've slowly started to adapt a little bit towards that, where you can't care about what everybody says. Think about it. Everyone reacts to everything that happens. People react differently. Take 20 people, take 20 of your friends or family or whatever, and think about all the different viewpoints they have, and maybe who they vote for, maybe their favorite sports team. Just think of it from that context. You cannot please everybody. You can't. You never will. So why try? Why try to walk a fine line? I try. You guys know where I kind of stand politically, where I lean, the things I support. And I guess what I'm trying to say is I'm going to try to speak my mind a little bit more on this podcast on Mondays. You guys kind of know my sports opinions, but I'm going to give some other opinions as well. And they may not be for everybody. the beauty of podcasts or radio shows or whatever, or television channels, is you can turn them off if you don't like what they're saying. I know I have. I don't listen to things that I don't like listening to, you know? So I don't want to alienate anybody. If this program is for you, then I appreciate those who tune in. I appreciate it. I'm not trying to get rich off this thing. This is a place to talk with my friends, to share some opinions, to vent a little bit. And some people will like it and some people won't. So it is what it is. I'm not going to get caught up in, trying to appeal to everyone, because that's like Andy Frisella said in there, you got to stand for something. And kind of on that note, I feel as if, it's society. Okay. When you're growing up, you belong to a school. All right. You probably belong to a church. And for people who maybe weren't religious or aren't religious now, there's this like need to belong to something. And I think that's a problem in some sense, not all aspects, but like some people, they make up causes because they want to feel a part of something. They make up, some of these, they try to stand for something. They stand for things that aren't really standing for anything. And you could say, well, Matt, not everyone is religious or goes to church or whatever. I've told you guys, I grew up going to church every week, and I haven't in the past few years. I have, I guess, different reasons for that, but I'm not saying the solution for everyone. If you want to belong to something, go join a church. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying that is something that I think couldn't hurt, but for a lot of people, they have this desperate need to be a part of something, be a part of a team, be a part of a cause, a movement. Let me speak up on this issue and then ignore this other issue over here. I think you guys kind of know what I'm saying there. Not too many. The problem is we've alienated like the good causes. We've removed the Pledge of Allegiance, God out of the classroom. Any mention of God. People, separation of church and state. It's like, well, yeah, but what about freedom of religion? Like being able, anyway, I won't go down that rabbit hole, but it's just interesting to me that, for instance, there's one group of people. If you had to divide our country into two, I know there's a whole bunch of different viewpoints in this and that, but what I'm seeing right now is there's a group that wants to radically change everything. Think about it. Think about in every policy that's made, think about what is really happening. There's a radical change. Some people want to radically change everything. I mean everything. How much power you use in your house, how many hamburgers you can eat in a year. And then there's other people that appreciate kind of foundation and tradition. What's interesting to me is that think of the word liberal. Think of liberal means like freedom, right? Free. The funny thing is with liberal is I feel as if liberal policies are almost the exact opposite of like free. The whole liberal and liberating, right? It's similar. And yes, it also means, philosophy of, promoting civil liberties and individual, but I'm saying it's just interesting that liberal should be, more freedom, yet the liberal side of things is kind of being more restrictive, tell you what to do. Isn't that kind of weird? And then you think the exact opposite. The conservative side of things is like, hey, don't overly spend and be conserve. Don't be conservative. Has a connotation of like being, just go with the flow. Don't get radical change or anything. But it's crazy that the conservative side of things, and in reference to like the coronavirus right now and all these restrictions, that side is almost like, hey, more freedom, wanting to do more things. I don't know if you understand what I'm saying, but like the two ideologies, it's almost like flipped in their definition, maybe. Like I think the liberal point of view is like almost, let's change everything, radically change everything. restrict everything, what businesses can be open, um, tax anyone that makes a certain amount of money. Um, just I almost feel, if I had to sum it up, and I'm not saying, be careful here, even though I just read you the Andy Frisella thing. I feel as if, I'm not saying liberal or conservative. It seems like we have people in this country that love America and its traditions and foundations. And that's not to say that you can't evolve a bit. We've evolved a lot. All right. But I feel some of this evolution is like evolution is becoming like this revolution. And that's not a good thing. I feel like one group of people loves America, loves its foundations. Not to say there weren't mistakes made, or that, you need to go back to the good old days. No, there's plenty of wrongs that have occurred that have been righted. But there's like another side that like hates America. We are racist. We are evil. We are an awful nation. That's like, what? There's bad things, but like, there's bad things all over. There's murderers. There's racists. There's thieves. There's rapists. There's all kinds of things. But I wouldn't say that that is like what identifies our nation. I am not denying anything. I'm not a denier of, first of all, I'm not a denier of facts. Some people are. Some people do deny facts. And you could deny opinions. You can't deny facts. Facts still matter. At least I think so. So it's crazy today. I'm sitting here talking to you guys in late April, and I'm thinking to myself, some people don't love America, and they want to destroy it with some of the ideology. And some people are going along with it. Take away the police, take away the right to defend yourself, take away, masks everywhere. So, pay everyone money. We don't want people having jobs or careers or lives. And it's just, I don't know if it's socialism or what the concept is, but it's, I'm trying to like dumb it down and like think simple thinking, like is what works for me. I don't know all the fancy terms, but I just know that it's really crazy right now that everybody wants to just this radical change. Minor change is good, but like to completely fundamentally change everything about our society, there might be a few things that need to be tweaked, but to change everything, the capitalism of our country, the free market, all these things, like what was the old saying? Oh, you used to be able, you can, in America, you can do whatever you want. You can accomplish anything you want. Now everyone's told, nope, you're being held back because of this, or nope, our planet's going to end. There's no hope unless we all start, stop using gasoline. I mean, it's just, there's this constant doomsday. Like the world is an awful place. I don't want to live that way. Think of it this way. Say you ever been in a relationship where you're with somebody, not just a couple dates. I mean, you're in a relationship, and this is male or female, by the way. And there's something in you. You like them, but you don't love them necessarily. You might think you love them. You're kind of like on the fence, but you're like, oh, let's see where it goes. But you find yourself like constantly wanting to change a lot about them, not a little, not, hey, tuck your shirt in when we go out to eat, or, hey, can you do the dishes more? I'm talking like fundamentally change everything about them. If you want to radically change the person you're dating, then did you really love them? Do you really love them? Or do you love the idea of what you want, what you think they should be? So I think about that when I think about America. Like, people say they love the country, but they want to change everything about it. Does that make any sense to you? Doesn't make any sense to me. Fix a few things. Sure, absolutely. And you know what? You're not going to agree on everything of the person you date, but it is rather weird that you hear that often, right? What's the number one reason you guys broke up? Oh, she was trying to change me. What's the number one reason you guys broke up? Oh, he didn't care. He never listened. He never listened. He was, never willing to compromise. And yet in America today, we have this like, I love you, but I want to change everything about you. Okay. Try that, fellas. Why don't you go tell your ladies that tonight? Go say, hey, babe, you know what? I love you. I love you a lot, but I want to change 90% of the things about you. How do you think that would go over? You think she, I hope someone does try that because I want to hear the results. Anyway, these are just, random analogies, guys. I put my shirt on. I put my shirt on backwards the other day, and I was in a hurry. And the thing about doing that is you can feel right away, like without even looking, you're like, this feels wrong. This doesn't feel right. When your shirt's on backwards. Maybe you got other things on your mind. You don't feel it right away. But if you have any like awareness at all, you're like, this feels wrong, or it's inside out, that feeling, not looking down and seeing it. But my immediate thought to that was, man, you can feel the very second when your shirt is on backwards, if you have any awareness at all. But we also live in this like backwards make-believe world right now where people don't feel the shirt on backwards because there's a lack of awareness. So they're thinking about other things that they need to change. And it's like, hey, put your shirt on right first. But it's just the feel. That was my point with this, is that you feel it. You feel the backwards. And I think some people aren't feeling the shirt on backwards these days. And they just go about life with the backwards shirt on. That was just a completely random one that popped in. Okay. President Biden, listen, I'm not a fan. You guys know that. Some of you guys hated Trump. Some of you guys loved Obama, hated Obama, loved Trump, like whatever. All right. But this is something I can't, I don't know where to begin with this. President Biden was in a Zoom meeting with a bunch of world leaders. It looked like at least 15 of them. And Biden was the only person on the Zoom wearing a mask. Why you need a mask in a Zoom call is beyond me. It's not like, oh, Maddie's just trying to set a good example. That's not setting a good example, especially when you're vaccinated. Him and the vice president constantly wearing a mask when they're vaccinated. What message does that send? To me, that sends a message of, hey, that we want you to take this vaccine, but it doesn't work. Well, it's being extra cautious. Extra cautious? I mean, do you guys wear 2 seatbelts when you drive? Do you carry a seatbelt around with you as you're walking? I mean, what are we doing? That's not leadership to me. That's not leadership to wear a mask in a Zoom call with other world leaders. That's an embarrassment to America. And you're vaccinated. Well, people who are vaccinated still need to wear a mask. Well, why? I talked to you guys about UFC and the thousands of fans. Valerie asked me, she says, oh, yeah, did they vaccinate everyone? I go, no. She goes, oh, well, did they, is it, everyone's got to wear masks? I go, nope. Jacksonville, Florida, the oasis of freedom, as Governor Ron DeSantis called it in one of the pre-UFC events. It's crazy that we have to like refer to this, man, this is freedom, not wearing a mask and having a capacity crowd. Wow. That is like this big deal. It shouldn't be a big deal. That should be normal. I'm bouncing around here, but yeah, Biden wearing a mask in a Zoom call. That is such poor leadership. It spreads fear. You confuse people. It's Biden wearing a mask on a Zoom call with world leaders. What are you doing? Are you trying to show the world that America is the safest place? Like we're extra safe. I don't. Maybe you love Biden. Maybe you hate Trump. I don't know. People got mad at Trump and he never wore a mask anywhere. Okay, well, what? Yeah, he got COVID, but he's fine. Anyway, those are some early random thoughts for me today before I kind of get into the sports topics. But and I want to get to Suds with Studs here in a second to honor Louis Pompei, but a few other just random things here. I mean, you talk about the radical change of America, and I'll give you another example. Voting to have Washington, D.C. as a 51st state, the court packing. I saw a guy try to corner Senator Ted Cruz, and he was like, what's the difference between what, the concept of court packing and what the Republicans did in 2016 and 2020 with the new Supreme Court justices? Was it Gorsuch and Kavanaugh, I believe? And the guy didn't understand that there's 9 Supreme Court justices. When one of them retires or unfortunately passes away, there's a vacancy. You fill the vacancy. That's what Donald Trump did. That's what Barack Obama did. That's what George Bush did. Bill Clinton did. There's an opening, a vacancy. You fill it. That's one of the responsibilities as a president. And there's checks and balances. Got to be approved through the Senate, this and that, whatever. But he was comparing filling a vacancy to Ted Cruz. Like, well, it's the same as court packing. You guys are packing the court with your people. It's like, no. Court packing, the Democrats right now want to put more justices on. Why? Because they can put 2 or 4 of liberal judges basically to sway the court in their favor rather than keep it at 9. And yes, I know in the Constitution you can add judges or whatever, but it's been 9 forever. And this is what I talk about with tradition versus radically changing things. Can you imagine? I want you guys to think about this. I love playing this game, the can you imagine game, where you either flip the roles of a situation. A lot of times it's like racial situations, and I don't want to get into too many of those because that's always dangerous. And but think of the Donald Trump. Think if he attempted to pack the court. Can you imagine the outcry? Can you imagine? Dictator Trump is trying to radically change everything. He wants to put more conservative justices on the court. The Democrats have no problem. Like, I'm going to pack the court. It's almost like some people love the concept of tyranny. That's the funny thing to me. Anytime Trump was called a dictator, by the way, I don't remember think about now who takes away or restricts more of your freedoms? Trump or Biden in his short few months of office? Who's been more in favor of taking things from you, restricting things from you? If you look at it impartially, I think you'd be able to understand that. Be like, well, Trump was mean when he talked. Okay. Well, gee, I mean, I feel like we are going towards tyranny. Change everything, radically change everything. Not a good thing. Okay, I'm going to get into the Ma'Khia Bryant shooting in Ohio again towards the end of the show when I have a few thoughts on Mr. LeBron James. But first, I want to do a Suds with Studs segment here in honor a fallen officer. Louis Pompei was killed in 1996. And I can't believe I hadn't talked about him yet. I was 11 years old at the time. I remember it kind of being a big deal, very sad time. I grew up in the city of Glendora, California, which is a, pretty safe area, pretty nice town. Not a whole lot of, violent crimes and such like that. And there's a park. It's a really nice park behind, kind of tucked away in a corner that I used to go to as a kid. It was called Louis Pompei Park. And I was always like, what is Louis Pompei? What is this? And it was remodeled a few years ago. Really, really nice. In Glendora, right on the border of Glendora, San Dimas. But I want to read to you from an article about Louis Pompei from the Daily Bulletin. This was written in 2015 by Imani Tate, excuse me. And just want to kind of paint a picture for you guys about Officer Louis Pompei from the Glendora Police Department. And he is going to be our featured honoree, we'll say, on today's episode and this segment, Suds with Studs. We call it Suds with Studs because these are people we would love to sit down and have a beer with, and not just by the first round, but every single round. And unfortunately, as is in the case today, the person we are honoring has passed away and was killed in the line of duty. So let me read to you from this article in 2015 about Louis Pompei. Okay, this was, again, 2015. Here we go from the article. It's called Louis Pompei's Last Efforts Help Capture Assailants. The mortally wounded Louis Anthony Louis Pompei led deputies to his assailants 20 years ago tonight. That deadly night, June 9th, 1995, Pompei fired his gun and hit his attackers enough times that they needed emergency assistance. Those bullets and eyewitnesses' description of the fleeing armed suspect's vehicle led to the teenage killer's quick apprehension at Queen of the Valley Hospital in West Covina. Law enforcement agents from several jurisdictions, according to the Glendora police chief, Tim Stabb, went into instant action after the wounded Pompei dialed 911 from a payphone outside of a Vaughn's Market before collapsing. Pompei, who was 30 and a 7-year veteran of the Glendora Police Department, had just gotten off duty with LA Impact, a regional anti-drug trafficking task force comprised of Los Angeles County sheriff's deputies and municipal police officers. He went to Vaughn's Market near his San Dimas home to cash his paycheck. He was in the checkout line when two young men, later identified as Larry Hernandez, 16, and Robert Ramirez, 17, entered the store, announced a holdup, and began pistol whipping a box boy, according to police reports. Louis did what he was trained to do as a policeman, Stabb said. Whether he is on or off duty, he was sworn to protect, serve, and defend. He drew his gun and identified himself as a policeman to stop the attack on a special needs employee. Gunfire ensued, but Louis drew fire away from customers and employees in the store and toward himself. According to a Glendora police memo, Pompei was hit 5 times. Once in the upper right chest, 3 in the abdomen, and 1 in the thigh. Although the bullet that hit him in the chest was a through and through, it took out a ventricle to Louis's heart, said the still grieving Stabb. That just killed him. He died during surgery at San Dimas Community Hospital. Louis remains the only Glendora police officer killed in the line of duty since the department was founded in 1926. I'm not sure if that is still the case. This was, again, written in 2015, but as I mentioned, there have not been a lot of violent crimes in Glendora. And case in point, at that time, Louis Pompei was the only officer that had been killed in the line of duty since 1926. Okay, continuing. He remained loyal to the law enforcement code of ethic, which notes in part that an officer's fundamental duty is to serve mankind, safeguard lives and property, and protect the innocent against deception, the weak against oppression or intimidation, and the peaceful against violence or disorder. Louis upheld the code to the end. Pompei wounded the 2 assailants in the store before they escaped to a waiting silver Toyota Tercel. Witnesses provided a description of the car for a crime broadcast and a Pasadena Police Department helicopter used in an earlier LA Impact aerial surveillance went airborne again, joining county and municipal law enforcement agents on the ground searching for the 2 suspects. 2 LA County Sheriff's Department Special Enforcement Bureau deputies had just dropped 2 prisoners at the Industry Sheriff's Station. Knowing the area and following instinct, they went to Queen of the Valley Hospital in West Covina to check for the suspects and vehicle. They found Hernandez and Ramirez in the emergency room, claiming they'd been wounded in a drive-by shooting in San Dimas and had been driven to the hospital by Larry Hernandez's brother, Daniel, who was 19. The 2 deputies saw Daniel Hernandez outside the hospital, questioned him, and impounded the vehicle. A search warrant netted bloodstains. Deputy District Attorney Mark Arnold of Crimes Against Peace Officers Unit tried the 2 juveniles as adults It took a jury of 7 women and 5 men 3 hours to convict Ramirez and Larry Hernandez, the shooters inside the market, of first-degree murder of a policeman, a special circumstance that eliminates the opportunity for parole on their life sentences. The two were also convicted of assaulting a Vons employee during the robbery. Daniel Hernandez confessed to planning the robbery and driving the getaway car. He testified against his brother and Ramirez to avoid the death penalty, allowable under the law when convicted by a jury. Daniel Hernandez was convicted of first-degree murder and sentenced to 26 years to life in prison. After the arrest of the three, Stab said investigating officers learned they were suspected in a series of San Gabriel Valley supermarket robberies. Quote, their violence was steadily increasing. They had pistol whipped a shopper at an earlier market robbery, so their violence was escalating even before the firefight with Louis. Well, that gives you a little insight onto former Glendora police officer Louis Pompei, killed in the line of duty, 1996. Incredibly sad story, but what a hero. Saving who knows how many lives in that situation where he was just going to cash his check. Man, he was just on his way home after probably a long day. Excuse me, 1995, June 9th, 1995. I was 10 years old. And there's a park named after him in my hometown. But just a guy who jumped into action, didn't think twice about anything, just jumped in and saved lives and sacrificed his, wounded the assailants, called police for help from a payphone while he was dying, being shot 5 times. He probably wasn't shot 5 times at once. It was probably a few different times. I have no way of proving that, but what a remarkable hero, Louis Pompei from the Glendora Police Department. I'm honored to be from Glendora. I'm honored to see his name, whether it be a freeway interchange or a park. I mean, definitely one of Glendora's finest individuals. And to Louis Pompei, I salute you, sir. I salute you for your service. Thank you so much for sacrificing your life for others. And you are someone I would absolutely love to sit down and have a beer with, not just by the first round, but every single round. Okay, kind of on that note, with that in mind, did you guys happen to notice the ages of the criminals in this story? I'll go back and confirm for you. 16 years old and 17 years old. Minors, technically, under 18, who violently injured who injured a store clerk, had guns, were shooting, could have done harm. Now, if this was 2021, because those guys were kids, and they had weapons and were harming people, could have killed people, apparently in 2021, it would have been better had Louis Pompei not fired upon them, not shot them when they were doing physical harm to others, potentially killing other people. No. They had weapons, but they were kids. You can't shoot kids. No. You got to check ID first. Hey, wait, how old are you? Okay. You're 16. My bad. Well, let me put my gun away. Hey, can you guys please put your guns down and stop committing a crime? Hey, can you stop beating that guy up? I won't shoot you. I won't threaten to shoot you because you guys are kids. You guys are underage. You know how stupid that sounds? However, in 2021, we had this exact scenario. Last week, while most of the country watched the Derek Chauvin verdict, right around that time, it was the same day, there was a young lady in Columbus, Ohio, named Ma'Khia Bryant, who's 16 years old, much like the assailants in the Louis Pompei story from 1995. And Miss Bryant had a knife, and was about to stab someone. Make no mistake about it, she was in the process of stabbing somebody. Knife raised, ready to physically harm, trying to kill the person. You don't really try to wound with a knife or any weapon. I mean, trying to wound, anyway, if you're trying to stab someone, you know darn well they'll probably die. Stab wounds are pretty ugly. Anyway, police officers show up in Columbus, and Ma'Khia Bryant is attempting to stab somebody. Absolute chaos. Officers get up. There's people falling all over the ground. Adults are kicking people on the ground. Everyone's ignoring police orders while the cops were called there because someone had a knife. Help, someone's got a knife. Some are reporting that it was Ma'Khia Bryant who actually made the call. Whatever the case is, someone had a knife. And very intense altercation. Well, back to Ma'Khia Bryant, who's attempting to stab somebody. The police officer for Columbus PD opens fire, shoots her, saves a life of the person she's trying to stab. The person she's trying to stab, you can see the video. She's in a pink jumpsuit. It looks like she's lifting her knee like to block the stab wound. And this police officer, who's pretty new on the force, he shoots Ma'Khia Bryant, shoots and kills her as she's attempting to kill somebody. And we live in this world that sickens me. All right, we all come to agreement on what happened in Minneapolis, Derek Chauvin, him, what happened with George Floyd. And yeah, maybe there's still some debate, but it went to a jury. They found him guilty. It is what it is. Like not one person in the entire country that I heard of, and I try to hear all kinds of people, said, yeah, he was righteous in his actions. Derek Chauvin's actions were despicable. But we live in this world now where the comparisons made to this police officer in Columbus, Ohio, he doesn't belong in the same breath, same sentence as Derek Chauvin. Derek Chauvin stood on a guy's neck for 9.5 minutes while he's handcuffed. This police officer shot somebody who was trying to stab another person. Saved a life. And I got news for you. To the police out there. If someone is trying to stab someone that I love, shoot them, please. And I am, just so you guys are aware. And police, I challenge you this. If someone I love is attempting to stab someone else, shoot them. Yes, that's consistency. I don't know why someone I love would be tempting to stab someone. Self-defense is one, but if they are attacking someone with a knife, why they would do that, I don't know. But I'm gonna for total, because everyone is like, well, imagine if that was your daughter. Yeah, which one? The one stabbing or getting stabbed? Because if someone, a relative or a close friend of mine is about to get stabbed, yeah, I would want their life to be saved. And I also wouldn't want someone I love doing the stabbing. Ma'Khia Bryant's mom's comments were, I feel bad for her losing a child, but her talking about she was always a peaceful child and a motherly figure. And really? I think we have our values all backwards, all twisted inside out. We all have the shirt on backwards, to bring it full circle. I don't want police officers having to shoot anybody, especially kids. But if kids are trying to stab somebody, or in 1995, violently rob a grocery store, beat up a store clerk, brandish guns, I'm sorry. I don't have much sympathy for you. There's plenty of interactions with law enforcement that warrant speculation, that warrant an investigation into their action. There's plenty of situations like that. But I almost feel like the people that do hate police, and there's lots of them out there, they hate police. They want the police gone. They think all police are racist. They think that, they're just out there hunting, minorities. People who saw that, there's people who saw that video in Columbus, and what they saw was an officer. He heard a call. Hey, there's a knife fight. Oh, and the officer's mind. He could show up and kill someone. No problem. He showed up. Few officers showed up, and it all happened in like less than 10 seconds. There's a big fight outside, a big struggle. Guys getting thrown to the ground, girls getting thrown to the ground. The adults there acting like children themselves. And my favorite, I think it was her father. What? You shot her? You shot my baby. What are you doing? You're not, and someone else, you're not supposed to be here. You're not supposed to be here. They're the police. You called them, or someone did, because you guys can't control your house. You guys are out fighting in the streets. Someone has a knife. You're kicking people on the ground. And, there was a time that when the police showed up, no matter what was going on, people stopped what they were doing. There was a respect there. It was interesting. No one stopped what they were doing when the police rolled up. People just continued to be violent with each other. That in itself is incredibly sad. And then the male figure in the video, again, continuing to talk about, how could you shoot her? She's just a kid. Well, that just a kid is attempting to stab another kid. So we've dissolved into this watered down version of values that I can't even put my finger on anymore. So the heroic actions of the cop, and I know he shot and killed a kid. Well, he shot and killed a person attempting to kill somebody, attempting to stab someone. Well, he could have shot her in the leg. He could have tased her. He could have. Really, if your loved one is about to be stabbed, what would you want to have happen? What would you, if your mother, your sister, your brother, your best friend, your spouse was up against a car about to be stabbed, what would you want the police to do? Don't tell me, I wish they had fired a shot up in the air. No, if that was someone you were concerned about, I guarantee I know what your answer would be. If even you people who hate the cops, you hate the police, you hate the badge, you hate them. I would think if you were in that situation, you'd feel a little different. I really do. But what kills me is that there's people out there who think like I don't know what it is. Like some of these guys enjoy like killing people. Maybe the young cop heard a call for distress, and he's like, "Oh man, I might be able to shoot someone. This could be." No, that's not what happened. And the media is absolutely evil, and I use the term literally. The media, right off the bat, sent out video, and of course, the headlines they leave out pertinent information like knife-wielding suspect about to stab someone. They left that part out. It was like cops shoot a teenage girl. Well, that doesn't tell you a lot of information. There was even video shown where they fit the camera so you couldn't see the knife. When you could see the knife clear as day in the video. They had to go out of their way to crop the video so that you didn't see the knife. That's evil. The manipulation and propaganda in this country from our news media is unbelievable. It's preposterous. And some people don't understand. They don't open their eyes that they're being lied to on a daily basis. Oh, well, the news, I saw this on the news. You hear it. There's 1,000,001 examples. That's a big one right there. because the media wants chaos. The leftist media, they want chaos. They want us to fight each other. They want this division because it gives them something to write about. It gives them something to talk about. That's evil. You know, what's the old story? If you tell a lie enough times, that some people will start to believe it. Guys, you're being lied to every day. I don't care what news you watch or, you know, whatever. It's to each his own. But to not take a step back and be like, well, why did they say it that way? To not wonder why. I'm not saying you need to only look at conservative news. They do it too. But the majority of the media does not believe in truth. They promote an agenda, a narrative. They want destruction. Ask yourself why they say some of the things they do, why they promote violence, and they do. It's like a game to them. It's like a video game. They're at the controls trying to beat certain levels, and it sickens me. It's so incredibly disappointing. And it's really disappointing when I see people who they watch the news and they listen to reporters and they're just like, yeah, I'm informed. You're disinformed. You're fed disinformation most of the time. You are. Police are always killing people. Well, the nature of the job sometimes involves that. Anyway, I will attempt to move on from this. And I want to get to, I wanted to get it to UFC and boxing and all these things. I'm running out of time, I guess. I'm running out of time. I want to talk about LeBron James, and then I'll try to finish off with some sports. I know I'd save that for the end, but I'm kind of here now, so let's just talk about it. LeBron James, I'm going to talk about propaganda and cowardice. LeBron James is a coward. He's a coward. He is never used his platform for good. Oh, Matt, he made a school for kids. He married his high school sweetheart. You don't get special points for doing things you're supposed to do. You know, by being a good family man. Like everyone's supposed to do those things. I feel like guys get special points for that or something. Anyway, I know he's done great work with schools. Okay, I'll give him that. But I swear every tweet is either about him, how great, you know, he's always on, you know, King James, blah, blah, blah. But his tweeting of this situation in Columbus, especially when he's from Ohio, is absolutely sickening. You're next, he says about the police officer who killed Ma'Khia Bryant. And he's not mad that the office, you know, that Ma'Khia Bryant was about to stab someone. He's just, oh, the cops killed another girl. That's all he cares about, which tells me, here's what it tells me, that the whole concept of lives mattering, they only matter in certain situations, because LeBron doesn't care at all about the girl who was almost stabbed. Isn't that sad? And I'll say this, had the cops let her Ma'Khia Bryant stab that girl, the nation would be on fire. Look at the cops. They didn't take action when a girl's, you know, they let a girl be stabbed, a kid. You can't win. The media knows how to twist and turn everything and use it to manipulate the masses. That's what they do. So LeBron James, you sicken me. You always have. He came to the Lakers, and I was like, oh, this is my nightmare. And I haven't been a Laker fan since. And I had seen some of his political statements before, but he's the so-called leader of the NBA. And what he's done to that league, he's destroyed the league. He's destroyed it for viewership, for audiences, for people that loved basketball. And he hates a good portion of this country. LeBron James hates police officers. He hates anyone who identifies as a Republican or a conservative. He loves the Chinese dictators over there. He loves that, but he speaks nothing of the atrocities over there. And I know, well, Matt, it's China. This is America. He should care about it. Well, then he makes a lot of money over there. Anyway, LeBron James, and then he deletes the tweet, and then he has the audacity to say, I took the tweet down because people are twisting the words and using it to divide us and be more racist. I'm like, they're your words. Accountability, and put the officer's picture and said, you're next, as a threat. If something does happen to that police officer, LeBron James should be charged with conspiring to do harm to a police officer or something. I don't know the exact charges. But he also meant, because it was the day of the Chauvin trial, my initial thought when it said you're next was not to like do physical harm to him, but you're going to be tried and sentenced like Chauvin was. When the two scenarios could not be more different. And what it did is it put a spin on, so there, how do we say this? What it did is it told me that the loophole really in the Black Lives Matter, group. First of all, I had this conversation that whole phrase, it's actually a genius phrase, because if you say, oh, I don't stand with BLM, you're like, what? You don't care about? No, it's the organization. And, the organization that is hypocritical and burning down buildings and all this and that, the Antifa side of all that. I know they're two separate groups, whatever. But what it showed is that LeBron James does not care about Black life, because one was almost taken in that video. And it's very sad that he doesn't care about that. Incredibly hypocritical. And one thing is very sad. I care about that girl's life. I'm very glad she was not stabbed and killed. I'm incredibly sad about a lot of the deaths that occur around the country that no one seems to care about. 7-year-old girl in McDonald's drive-thru in Chicago. That doesn't seem to get any press, really. Jaslyn Adams, I believe, was her name. Because I care, and I don't want to just say, some 7-year-old girl in, Jaslyn Adams. Shot and killed. 7 years old. McDonald's drive-thru. But there's no uproar, and, why don't we start protesting gang violence in Chicago, in LA? That would unite us, right? Wouldn't that be? I think that would be powerful stuff. March in the streets, absolutely. Anyway, I kind of went around all over here. The last thing I will say about LeBron James, the fakest dude in the league. I know you're worth $1 billion or whatever, a couple billion, but you're an absolute joke. You're a hypocrite, and you never use your platform for good. How come LeBron has never one time said, use his platform, use his 50 million Twitter viewer? How come he has never one time said, hey, why don't we stop resisting arrest? Then when things do go bad, if things go bad, we're going to hold officers accountable if they act poorly, if they commit a crime against you. Let's do our part, guys, instead of always constantly attacking officers who react to people who are resisting arrest in a lot of cases. How come that's never said? I'm not saying it has to be said all the time. Sure, you could be it's a First Amendment. You could say whatever you want. You can be critical of police and their actions and preach accountability. By all means, LeBron. I think it's cool. That's your platform. That's your belief. But how about just once, maybe twice? Well, let's go twice. Let's say, so it's not just a one-time thing. That you use your platform and say, preach to your followers or just to us civilians. Preach to us out there. Hey, guys, As civilians, we need to do our part as well. Let's not resist arrest. Let's do what police, let's comply with what officers say. Would that be so difficult? No, it is. I don't know. Let's do some good here rather than just continually point out things that, you know, some are true and some are false. Rather than continue the same narrative, why don't we try something new? What do you think? I think that would be a good idea. LeBron James and you know, you guys who wear his jersey, you guys who cheer for him, I can't do it. I won't do it. I've always disliked him. Always. I saw him play in high school. I thought he was incredible. I was like, man, this guy is amazing. Saw him play really well in Cleveland, then abandoned his city once, not once, but twice. You know, I refuse to cheer for the guy, and I refuse to listen to him anymore because he can barely put words together. And I know I'm guilty as well on this podcast. I can't seem to talk most of the time. But anyway, unbelievable. LeBron, you are a hypocrite. Okay, I know I said I'd save that for the very end, but I want to say a couple things about UFC 261, even though it's, you know, Mondays are supposed to be, oh, the sports, it's sports and current events. So there may or not be as many sports topics, we'll say, especially when there's a ton of stuff in the news and we want to get to all these different things. As it is, man, I can't believe it's been an hour already. And I still have, I haven't even touched on some of these other things that I wanted to get into. But UFC 261 absolutely delivered. Kamaru Usman knocks out Jorge Masvidal in the second round with a very strong right hand cross right to his chin. I mean, Masvidal hit the deck, and you know he looked like his chin went through his ear. I mean, that was quite a shot by Usman. And you know, I like what they said afterwards, in the fact that Masvidal was like, "Hey, he's got my number. All respect." I mean, these guys talk trash to each other all week. They do not like each other. They don't tap gloves before they fight. I mean, I think Masvidal a little cocky, a little arrogant with his playing with his hands down, you know, saying, "Hey, you know, punch me, fight me." And Usman did just that. I've doubted Usman for many different fights. I've at least rooted against him in most of his fights. But I got to tell you, the guy is incredible. The Nigerian Nightmare, 18-1, maybe 19-1 now. He's the champion for a reason. Welterweight division, just an unbelievably skilled fighter. And he's proved me wrong like 3 times now. Kamaru Usman is a real deal and probably the best overall fighter in UFC right now. He's beaten Masvidal, knocked him out once, beat him a second time on the 6 days notice. There was no excuse for this fight. No built-in excuses, and that's why he wanted to fight Masvidal. Say, hey, yeah, I beat you last time, but it was on short notice. This time, train all you want. I'm still going to beat you, and he did. So congrats to Kamaru Usman. He will face Colby Covington next. That's another rematch from a fight from back in 2019. Covington with a couple wins since then and gonna get another shot at the welterweight belt. Those two guys do not like each other by any means also. So that's going to be very entertaining down the road in a few months here, hopefully. There was some other really great fights in UFC 261. As I mentioned, most of them or all of them in the main card were knockouts and like first or second round knockouts. Really, really incredible. The women's strawweight co-main fight between Weili Zhang and Rose Namajunas was an upset. Rose Namajunas knocks out Weili Zhang, who was 21-1 at the time and the current champion. It was crazy. She got her with a leg kick, like in the throat below the ear, and sent Zhang to the ground. And Zhang got up after the referee stopped it, and she was all confused. Like she was angry and confused. It's really interesting to see these fighters and how they react to when they get knocked out or knocked to the ground or just like when stoppages occur. Cause they always, no, I could keep going. I can, so she was really upset. Rose Namajunas. I hope I say it right. What a knockout. I mean, just straight up kick to the throat, side of the neck, and then jumps on her and hits her for a few seconds before referee pulls her off. And you could see the emotion in her face when the belt goes around her waist to just to win the world title over the current champion. I mean, Rose was just in tears, and just it was so cool to see. In the women's flyweight title bout, it was Valentina Shevchenko who beat Jessica Andrade and dominated her for 2 rounds. Both rounds were just clearly in her favor. She's the champion for a reason. And she did a little dance afterwards. You hear her, you see this violent fight, and then you hear her speak. She has this like super sweet, kind-hearted speech to her, and you're just like, wow, that's just so funny, the dynamic in that. But anyway, really, really good fights there. It was really unfortunate. The first fight, Anthony Smith beating Jimmy Crute, or Crute, excuse me if I say that wrong. They fought for 1 round. At the end of the first round, Jimmy Crute, his leg, like Smith kicked him to like the leg, his thigh, and like hit a nerve or something. So Crute couldn't put weight on it. It was really weird. He was trying to walk it off in between the first round and the second round. The doctor was like, no, it's over. It's done with. So unfortunate to see that injury. Anthony Smith is a big fan favorite. You could see him coming in the arena for the first fight of the main card. That arena was just jamming. He loved it. All the fighters loved it, seeing people in the stands. Just the energy was unbelievable. So congrats, Anthony Smith, a veteran. He's been fighting a long time. Really hope Jimmy Crute's okay. It was really weird. He was 12-1 before this fight, and to see a guy's leg, just like, it wasn't like anything was broken. It was just he couldn't put weight. He couldn't control his like ankle. It was so weird. Check it out on highlights or YouTube. And unfortunately, the fight after that, if you have a queasy stomach, definitely don't look this up. But I'm able to watch stuff like this and not be too impacted by it. But a very gruesome injury to Chris Weidman in the middleweight fight. Fight number 2 of the main card on Saturday night, fighting Uriah Hall. The fight lasted 17 seconds, and Uriah Hall became the first UFC fighter to win a fight without without striking an opponent once. Because what happened was Chris Weidman, as they're filling each other out, he goes to kick Uriah Hall. His shin contacts Uriah Hall's leg, and how do I describe this? Weidman's basically breaks his shin just with the kick. His leg kind of folds over Uriah Hall's leg. And then, like, as Weidman goes to plant his broken leg to fall back and sit and stand, the broken leg is like, it's flimsy, and his foot is like separated. He goes to plant, and from his shin down, it just like folds. And I don't know how else to describe it. It's unfortunate that it's part of the sport that happens sometimes with these leg kicks that kick a guy so hard that your shin breaks, which is unbelievable to me. Very gruesome. Goes to the ground immediately. Fight's called. Thoughts and prayers for Chris Weidman. I don't know if he'll ever fight again. I hope he can walk again. Just it's unfortunate. It's part of the sport that violent things do happen. That was a freak accident. That you could see Uriah Hall's face was just full of concern and sadness. I mean, no one should win that way. And I don't think he cared anything about the victory, because he didn't do anything really. He blocked a leg kick and the guy broke his leg, and it was just so gruesome. So when you see the care and concern with these fighters for each other, that to me is what makes UFC, and boxing for that matter, what makes combat sports so special. Talk as much smack as you want, get in there. You physically are trying to harm someone else. But when the bell rings, when it's all said and done, there's a mutual respect. There's a mutual respect. And I think we can all learn something from that. So an incredible Saturday night of fights. There was a first round knockout with Anthony Smith and Jimmy Crute. Uriah Hall defeats Chris Weidman. as Weidman breaks his leg. And then in the 3 title fights, Shevchenko with a second round knockout, Rose Namajunas with a first round knockout. And then in the main event, Kamaru Usman, second round knockout over Jorge Masvidal. Unbelievable stuff. Didn't get to watch a whole lot. I mean, with these fights ending so early, the fights were over and done with real quick. And I've learned over the years while watching, especially UFC, that fights can end real quick. So don't look down at your phone. Don't go get another piece of pizza. Like when those 5 minutes are on, anything can happen. Keep your eyes on the screen, because it's happened multiple times where I'll look away or something and boom, you missed the big hit. And there's replays and everything, but it's an amazing sport. I love it. I can't wait to watch more of it. I know I've told you guys many times, I really like boxing as well, but there is something about just the energy, the craziness of UFC also. And, with Dana White's comments recently, I got to tell you, I absolutely love that man. And I think he is just, he gets it. He knows that he has this sport that is growing. It's growing more than at a faster pace than other sports. It was the first sport to come back with no fans back in April, or was it May? I can't remember, last year. And it was in Jacksonville, same arena. UFC comes back on Saturday night to Jacksonville with fans in the stands. They wanted to kind of, as like a reward for having Jacksonville be the first city to host them a year ago, they wanted to come back and be the first city that had fans. So unbelievable stuff there. I have nothing but praise for Dana White. I know a lot of people want to talk crap on him because he wants people to die. He thinks he thinks people's lives don't matter, and he's promoting all of this. I mean, Dana White has done more for upcoming fighters, for people that want to make money, want to leave a legacy, want to be champions. They're pursuing the pursuit of something that they love. Dana White has provided for those people, and has done so much for the sport. He's one of the best leaders in all of sports. And for those non-UFC fans out there, I think you can get behind this sport, and someone like Dana White, who doesn't want to politicize anything. I mean, he's gone on different shows and said, we're not getting involved in all that crap. He says, we want to put on good events. People want to escape from their normal lives and watch men and women fight each other. They don't want to hear about politics and some of the crazy world we're living in. They don't want that. And I love Dana White for what he's doing. I got to read this to you. What was this on? This was Dana White slams the Las Vegas Review Journal because they condemned. Keep in mind, UFC is very big in Vegas, and Dana White lives in Vegas. I believe he does anyway. The Las Vegas Review wrote an article. Basically, their opening line was 15,000 people are willing to die and spread COVID in honor to attend a sporting event. And it's just like, what? You got to stop all this shaming of people. People want to live their lives. Stop shaming people because they don't want to wear a mask, or they're in a full arena. You don't have to go. You don't have to. Don't watch it. Don't go. Anyway, I want to read this to you briefly. I know this is from bjpen.com. What is this? I don't know. Oh, running out of breath. This is article written by Chris Taylor. This was on Saturday, probably before the fight. UFC president Dana White has slammed Las Vegas Review Journal for sharing a story condemning tonight's attendance at UFC 261. For the first time in over a year, fight fans will be in attendance for a sold-out pay-per-view event this evening in Jacksonville. Earlier this week, Dana informed fans planning on attending the event that they had the option of wearing a mask inside the UFC 261 venue. Quote, you can wear a mask or not wear a mask. It's up to you. It's your decision. Bravo. It's your decision. I love that. We need more of that. Here was the quote from the newspaper article, the very first line in it that they wrote, and it really pissed Dana White off, and rightfully so. Here was the quote from the Las Vegas Review Journal. Quote, at least 15,000 people are willing to risk permanent damage or death to attend a live sporting event again. That's according to the language in the disclaimer for those attending UFC 261 in Jacksonville, the first indoor sporting event to allow full attendance. The disclaimer stipulates attendance at Saturday's pay-per-view event, which features 3 title fights, may lead to exposure of COVID-19 and that the contraction of COVID-19 may result in severe and permanent damage to the health of the holder and others, including, but not limited to, death. Well, yeah, we all know that anywhere we go, we can get COVID. Everyone knows that. Everyone is well aware. And they have to post these signs because some guy, some retard will go to, can I say that anymore? Some dumb retard. Matt, you can't say that language. That's offensive. That's hurtful. Whatever. I'll be written up somewhere. Some idiot will be like, well, I went to this event and got COVID and no one said I might not get COVID. That we have to like put all these disclaimers everywhere now just to cover ourselves. That's all UFC was doing. Said, hey, if you attend this, there's a chance you could get COVID, but we're not going to restrict anybody from wearing masks and this and that. The story struck a nerve with resident Dana White. Dana tweeted it out. He said the article. He says, hey, Las Vegas, this is our piece of, you know what, local newspaper. He says, through this entire pandemic, we didn't lay off a single employee. We worked with government agencies in Nevada and around the world to put on every event safely. And we chose to bring our biggest fight of the year with Conor McGregor back to town July 10th to help relaunch the city. He's referring to Las Vegas. Quote, yet this is how the Las Vegas Review Journal shows its support for a true local business. Go F yourself. LVRJ, Las Vegas Review Journal, and don't bother coming to the fight in July. So Dana White not withholding any punches, no pun intended, to the Las Vegas Review Journal for condemning the UFC and Dana White for hosting a live fight, fans in attendance in UFC 261. Well, you know what? I applaud not just Dana White, but for the fans that went to the event on Saturday night. Congratulations. Hopefully this is the beginning of more and more of this. We've seen full baseball stadiums in Texas. And I know this UFC being an indoor event, there are people that I was like, wonder what it's going to look like. And my joke of the night was that, man, all these cardboard cutouts seem really realistic. Well, they weren't cardboard cutouts. They were real people. And just very, very cool to see people not wearing masks, drinking beers, having a good time, cheering, booing fighters, cheering for fighters. I mean, sense of normal. God bless the UFC. It's so funny. I've said this many times, but it's weird how fighting, like literal fighting is what brings us together. Fighting unites us, right? That is so funny. It's ironic. I absolutely love it. Anyway, guys, I've rambled enough today. I got a ton of sports stories and things that I didn't even get to. Oh, real quick. Last thing. First of all, Kamaru Usman talking about Jorge Masvidal, good rivalry, intense rivalry. But one of the best quotes he said was, Jorge, thank you. You made me better. You made me push myself more. That's what sports and competition should be about. I love that stuff, man. Oh, not this, poor me, the world's against me. No, man, you made me, you pushed me. That's incredible, man. We need more of that stuff. So thanks to all the fighters out there who put on a great show, and the UFC Saturday night. I will be participating, watching pay-per-views, watching every Saturday night with random fight cards because I love supporting good business, common sense business, and a great sport in UFC. Okay, last thing I want to say, I heard this and I was like, I can't believe I hadn't heard this before, but kind of, it was on my mind because of, recent police discussions and everything. I heard that Muhammad Ali is one of the greatest boxers of all time. I heard about how he got his start in boxing the other day. And at the time when he was 12 years old, he was Cassius Clay. That was his name. I heard it said, I think on the Adam Carolla show, maybe another podcast. I could be wrong. But anyway, I heard this. I had to look it up to confirm it. And I'll read to you now from the Muhammad Ali biography here. In his early life, I couldn't believe this. And I was like, what? So that's freaking cool. I said, okay, here we go. At the age of 12, Cassius Clay discovered his talent for boxing through an odd twist of fate. After his bike was stolen, Clay told the police officer, Joe Martin, that he wanted to beat up the thief. Martin said, well, you better learn how to fight before you start challenging people. Martin allegedly told him at the time. In addition to being a police officer, Joe Martin also trained young boxers at a local gym. Clay started working with Martin to learn how to spar and soon began his career in boxing. So unbelievable there. That is so cool. I can't believe I had not heard that's how Muhammad Ali's career started, by telling a cop after his bike was stolen, "Hey, I want to beat up the guy who took it." And Martin, rather than saying, "Hey, don't do that," or "Hey, yeah, go get him," he just said, "Hey, well, do you know how to fight? Let's do some sparring." And the rest is history, as they say. Cassius Clay becoming later Muhammad Ali, and one of the greatest heavyweight champions of all time. So I thought I'd leave you guys with that story today, just as a way to show that you never know where life's going to lead you, or where different challenges will come from, how we respond to things, and do we embrace challenges, do we just get mad and use our emotions? I don't know what I'm trying to say exactly, but I thought it was very fitting, and a good way to kind of wrap up today's episode of the Get Home Safe podcast. Thank you for tuning in. I have talked quite a long time. I didn't even get to a ton of other things and topics that I wanted to talk about, but maybe another time. College football Division I AA playoffs next week. They're down to 8 teams. Tune in for that. What is next week? I wanted to give what is coming up? Oh, the NFL draft. I was going to do a mock draft today, and kind of no one wants to hear that, but I'm excited about the NFL draft on Thursday. I will be tuning in. I will give my reactions on next Monday to the NFL draft, specifically the first round, but we might also talk about some of the picks that were made on the Friday and Saturday rounds as well. I'm very excited for it. The NFL draft, the NFL and college football kind of blending together on one day. Really exciting. I know it's not real football, but as a football fanatic like me, I absolutely love it. And it's kind of cool to see college kids fulfill their dream and to be selected and drafted. And so anyway, I will tell you this though, UFC is making I love football, but UFC is making a strong push and a strong argument as far as my sports fandom goes. And I'm sure there's other people out there who feel the exact same way. So guys, have a great rest of your week. I will talk to you on Wednesday, as I'm joined by Bill Barnes on the weekly Wednesday weigh-in. Look for our Facebook live video on Monday or Tuesday, depending when I can sit down and record with Bill, kind of our appetizer show. And then the full episode should be out on Wednesday. Appreciate you guys tuning into the podcast through audio, or now on the video with our YouTube channel. Continue to support the podcast any way you can. Just thank you so much, guys. It's always fun. And if you have any more ideas, definitely send them my way. You know how to reach us at the Get Home Safe podcast, social media, our email address, voice message. Still would love to hear a voice message or two from you guys. Voicemail, calling in the show. Anyway, let me take a breath. Time for me to go about my regular business. But thank you so much for tuning in to this edition of the Get Home Safe podcast. Looking forward to being back with you next Monday. But first, Wednesday with Bill Barnes and Friday with my good friend, Bill Ritter. Should be a great week of shows. But until then, guys, as always, no matter what you're doing, whether you're out on the town or rounding third base, get home safe.